Imagine you're kneeling on the floor of a filthy public restroom in a San Francisco subway station. One hand is braced against the door to keep out a crowd of angry strangers pounding to get in, while the other holds your young son as he sleeps on a makeshift bed of toilet paper. This wasn't a nightmare for Chris Gardner in the mid-80s. It was his daily reality. What would you do if all you had was a few spare dollars, a child depending on you, and a dream that seemed nothing short of delusional for a homeless man? We often hear rags to riches stories, but truly understanding the psychological weight of being pushed to the absolute brink, where your ego is crushed and hope feels like a burden, is something else entirely. Chris Gardner's journey didn't start from zero. It started from deep in the negatives. After leaving the military, he gambled his entire life savings on a business selling portable bone density scanners. From a behavioral psychology perspective, this was a classic sunk cost trap. He had invested so much time and money into these machines, which doctors viewed as unnecessary luxuries, that he couldn't let go, even as they dragged him into an abyss. The pressure wasn't just about an empty stomach, it was about the slow erosion of self-esteem. When you can't pay the bills, when your wife leaves because she can't take the poverty anymore, and when you look into your son's eyes, not knowing where you'll sleep that night, the human brain enters a state of survival psychology. In this state, most people choose to give up, accepting their fate as a defense mechanism to numb the pain of constant disappointment. Chris tried every conventional path. He worked harder, walked miles every day to make sales, and forced a smile while he was breaking inside. But the reality is that blind effort without a strategy for changing your status often leads to burnout rather than breakthrough. He was evicted, arrested for unpaid parking tickets, and eventually forced to sleep in public restrooms or homeless shelters. There were moments when the despair was so visceral it felt like a physical weight on his chest. It's that moment where the line between fighting and quitting becomes as thin as a hair. Chris nearly reached that breaking point where the death of hope felt like the only escape from the daily humiliation. The turning point, however, came from a seemingly small observation that triggered a profound cognitive awakening. One day, Chris saw a man stepping out of a bright red Ferrari with a look of pure satisfaction. Instead of feeling envy, he asked two life-changing questions. What do you do? And how do you do it? The answer was stockbroking. This was a moment of cognitive restructuring. Chris realized the problem wasn't his lack of effort, but that he was working within a system that didn't allow for a breakthrough. He decided to apply for an internship at Dean Witter Reynolds, an unpaid position with astronomical odds, while he was literally homeless. His internship was a masterclass in psychological resilience and resource management. While others had 8 hours to work, Chris only had about 6 because he had to race to the homeless shelter to secure a bed for his son before dark. To compensate, he never put the phone receiver down. He made 200 calls a day and didn't even drink water so he wouldn't have to waste time in the restroom. Psychology calls this hyper-focus. When there is no way back, the human spirit is forced to either evolve or be destroyed. Chris chose to evolve. He wore the same old suit every day, hiding his homelessness from his colleagues with a professional veneer and nerves of steel. The true climax of his life wasn't when he received his first $1 million check, but the moment after months of grueling struggle when he was called into the boss's office and told, "Tomorrow, wear a new shirt, because it will be your first official day of work." Stepping out into the crowded San Francisco streets, Chris began to cry. Those tears weren't just for his victory. They were a release of thousands of hours of suppressed fear, shame, and the cold of nights spent on bathroom floors. It was proof that a person's value isn't defined by where they stand, but by the direction they persistently pursue. Ultimately, Chris Gardner founded his own brokerage firm and became a multi-millionaire and a global inspirational speaker. The greatest lesson from his life isn't about getting rich quick, but about the concept of radical personal responsibility. He once said, "Don't ever let someone tell you that you can't do something, not even me." The difference between success and failure often lies in the ability to protect your dream from hope snatchers, including that critical voice inside your own head. We often blame circumstances, the economy, or bad luck, but in reality, we have the power to choose how we respond to those adversities. If you're feeling stuck, remember that even in the darkest basements, there is always a crack where the light gets in, as long as you never stop looking for it. Chris Gardner's story reminds us that change doesn't start in your wallet. It starts with a rock-solid decision in your mind. Don't let this video just be a temporary mental painkiller. Let it be the spark for your real-world action today. If you found value in these insights and want to explore more about psychology and life motivation with me, please subscribe and turn on notifications. Your support is what keeps this channel going. And if you want to dive deeper into the psychological strategies for maintaining your spirit during the hardest times, there's a particular book I believe everyone should read at least once to understand the true power of the human will. I won't say too much because I want you to experience it for yourself, but trust me, it will change how you look at obstacles. The link to the book is in the video description. Thank you for listening, and remember, happiness is not something to find, it's something we create. Goodbye, and I'll see you in our next journey.